This is FNN News Network. FNN News Network broadcasts news, documentaries, public events, and opinions relevant to the Oromo people. FNN is an umbrella media organization of several Oromo media sources that advocate for the rights of the Oromo people. FNN seeks to bring fresh news, commentaries, investigative journalism, and education to those in Oromia and beyond. We broadcast using television and social media networks. FNN is a voice of the Oromo people and depends on the support of viewers like you. Please consider partnering with us, providing a voice for the Oromo people. This is FNN News Network.
Hello everybody, this is Daniel Baba with FNN News Network. Today I've come with the news about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that has been hosting terrorist group in the capital. On September 10, the Ethiopian news outlets broadcast the news that the Ethiopian security forces have captured 31 terror groups that have been digging trench, training, and preparing to conduct terror operations in the capital. According to the Ethiopian government sources, the religious institution and disclosed religious institution, according to the news, have been hosting the terror group for a while, and the group have been digging trenches. They have been training and preparing escape routes, and the regime captured them along with 4 Kalashnikov with 345 related bullets and pistols, computers, video cameras, flash drives, and a cache of euro. The Ethiopian government avoided disclosing the identity of the group and the implicated religious institution, but our sources have repeatedly said that the implicated church is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, that basically is the Amhara Orthodox Church that has been using the name Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church that are located in Oromia, in Horoguru Wallagga, Eastern Wallagga zones have also been conducting similar operations in which it has been hosting and training Fano terrorists. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has been frequently reported as hosting Fano terrorists and arming them and deploying on Oromo civilians. The Fano terrorist groups have recently conducted a massacre on the Oromo civilians in Agamsa town, Horoguru Wallagga, in which they killed around 120 Oromo civilians in Agamsa town and about 24 in Horo Bulluk district in Horoguru Wallagga. This was taken place on August 30, 2022, in which they killed the 120 in Agamsa town, and then a couple of days later they killed 24 Oromos in Horo Bulluk. The Oromo residents in Horoguru Wallagga have always complained about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that's located in the area as hosting Fano terrorists and storing weapons and supplying with the Fano terrorists. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Amhara Orthodox Church, has always been part of the Ethiopian government, beginning from Menelik Haile Selassie, Derg, and under the EPRDF and the current regime. The current regime's advisor, very significant advisor, Daniel Kebrat, is an Orthodox deacon, and he has been among the people who have been waging war in Tigray and as well as in Oromia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Amhara Orthodox Church, has been an instrumental in grabbing land in Oromia. When the Abyssinia came down and annexed Oromia and other southern nations' nationalities, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Amhara Orthodox Church, has been an instrumental in grabbing land. Ever since, they have gone to fertile land and especially around the capital and claim that an ark, Moses' ark, has fallen, and it always falls in Oromia, not in northern part of the country, in Tigray or in Amhara area. It falls just in Oromia, and they claim the ark has fallen, and so the land where the ark has fallen belongs to the church. So they plant small churches, tents that are called churches that are arrayed with the Amhara flag, green, yellow, and red. And beginning from that day, the land is said to belong to the church. This has been ongoing and it has been expanded and has happened several times in the last few years. Just recently, the Oromia state's government has reported them claiming a land in the central Oromia area. The church has been instrumental and it raises a question of whether this institution is a political entity or a terror group or whether it is a religious institution. And when people talk about terrorist group, most of the time what comes to mind is Middle East, Afghanistan, and Somalia, and the likes. In Ethiopia, the Orthodox Church has been arming and deploying Fano terrorists in Oromia, and now a very alarming news has started in the capital. This is a tip of an iceberg. There might be network of similar Mara Orthodox institution that has been hosting, training, and arming Fano terrorists in the capital. Another group that has been implicated to be associated with this group is the Balderas group of Eskinder Nega. Eskinder Nega has been very vocal in arming and deploying the Fano terrorist groups to Oromia fight with the Oromo Liberation Army after the dreamed defeat of the TDF. That has never been materialized. The TDF has never been defeated. The war is still ongoing. We have some news about that as well today. So the Balderas of Eskinder Nega is one of the group that's implicated to be associated with the terrorist group that is based and has been operating from religious institutions in the capital. The Balderas leader, Eskinder Nega, has several times traveled to Bardar and Gundar to graduate the Fano terrorist groups and has been vocal and has been requesting the government to deploy the Fano terrorist groups to Oromia. What is alarming is FNN, as you know, is a base for several African Union diplomats and Western countries diplomats, the base for several embassies and international institutions, including the UN. The Fano terrorists and Amhara extremist groups have, in the recent past, highly criticized the Western governments for not criticizing the Tigray Defense Force and the Tigray government as well as the Oromo Liberation Front. They have, in the recent past, aligned themselves with the Russians and Chinese. So FNN News Network will continue to monitor the details about the these Fano terrorist groups that have been captured by the government. We'll wait to see whether the government will tell us the identity of those group, as well as the church or the religious institution that has been implicated. According to the Ethiopian news outlets, they have avoided telling us the detail. They have all used the same content all over the media, including The federal government media outlets such as Fana, EBC, the Amhara region news agency, the Southern Nations Nationalist Peoples News Agency, as well as news outlet from the capital. They have all copy and pasted the same news without any detail. So the Ethiopian government has chosen to keep the identity of the terror group very secret, as well as the religious institution that has been implicated very secret. Um, from this, what we can understand is the terror group are related with the Ethiopian government itself, and the religious institution is also in some way related to the government. That's why it doesn't want to expose the identity of the group as well as the identity of the religious institution. Had it been the Protestant church or a Muslim mosque, the identity of those who have been captured as well as the religious institution would have been exposed by the Ethiopian government on the same day, customarily. In another news, the Tigray Military Command has issued a statement detailing the victories it has obtained over the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Eritrean Defense Force, the Amhara Special Forces and military, as well as the Fano terrorist groups. According to the Tigray Military Command, they have defeated several of the Ethiopian military divisions, the Eritrean military divisions, and infantries in several fronts across the Tigrayan borders. According to the Tigray Military Command, the Ethiopian National Defense Force and allied forces have tried to push into Tigray, but the Tigrayan Defense Forces have defeated them on several fronts, killing and wounding thousands and capturing weapons along the way. They have detailed they were able to repel the Ethiopian National Defense Force and allied forces outside Tigray. The Tigray Military Command has praised its own people and its own military for the achievement, and has vowed it would continue to protect its own people, and has appreciated the patience of the Tigrayan population. For most of our viewers who might not know the relationship between the TPLF, the Tigray government, and the current Ethiopian government, the Ethiopian government until 2018 was dominated by the TPLF, the Tigray People Liberation Front, and the government under the TPLF was created in 1991. When Derg was defeated, the Oromo Liberation Front, the Eritrean People Liberation Front, and Tigray People Liberation Front made for a conference in London, and the conference was led by Herman Cohen, among others, from the US side. And the conference was held in London, and peace deal was negotiated. Eritrea wanted independence, and so they were granted a referendum, and they held referendum and became independent in 1992. The Oromo Liberation Front and the Tigray People Liberation Front formed a transitional government, and the TPLF was heavily armed and highly militarized at the moment. So it had a lion's share among the transitional government. Soon, within a year, the TPLF started executing the Oromo Liberation Front officers, political officers, And at the moment, the Oromo Liberation Army were agreed upon to be stationed in, say, barracks in non-strategic locations in Oromia. Once the TPLF started executing the OLF leaders, it also waged war on the OLA, killing several thousand Oromo Liberation Army who were caught off guard and sustained heavy losses. The OLA and the OLF declared war and continued a guerrilla fight until 2018. Under the leadership of the Oromo Liberation Front, OLA, the Oromo youths were organized and had been demanding autonomy and rights. And their struggle, the peaceful struggle, reached climax in 2016 and weakened the EPRDF and the coalition groups that TPLF created to serve its own interests. The TPLF created coalition groups such as the OPDO, Oromo People Democratic Organization, and other people's democratic organization to serve its own interests in the respective nations. So those groups were established from the prisoners of war of Derg during the fight to defeat Derg. The OPDO was, for example, created between 1989 to 1991, and it was an instrumental in weakening the OLF in 1991. Ever since, the OPDO has been serving the interests of the TPLF and has been serving their interests and has been subservient. When the Oromo youth weakened the EPRDF and the dominant party, the TDF chose to go back to Tigray. And the then Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Hailemariam Desalegn, resigned in the April of 2018. That didn't happen before until they killed several thousands of Oromo youths at Arecha in 2016. Fast forward in 2018, the TDF have gone back to Tigray, and even though the Oromo youth has defeated the EPRDF and forced them, the OLF at the moment stationed in Eritrea and OLA fighting in several fronts in Oromia could not go with the pace of the Oromo youth, and so a political vacuum, a power vacuum has been created. The OPDO soon realized it can fill this vacuum, and it recruited expatriates from the Oromo group that have always sought their own personal gains at the cost of national interest. And so it soon conformed itself from OPDO to ODP, Oromo Democratic Party, so declaring some kind of independence from the dominance of TPLF under the leadership of Lama Magarsa. And soon Abiy was elected to replace Hailemariam Desalegn later on in the mid 2018. And Abiy Ahmed didn't want to waste time. He put a facade of a peaceful and a leader and a peaceful leader, and he was nominated and won a peace laureate and a peace prize from the Norwegian Nobel community because he first learned that he has to normalize the relationship with Eritrea, which fought with Ethiopia between 1998 and 2000 on the Shire and Zalambasa border with Tigray. So Abiy normalized relationship with the Eritrean government um, for two purposes. One, to weaken the TPLF. Two, to deny the Ethiopian opposition groups such as the OLF, OLA, any military base in Eritrea. And he was successful. Isaias Afwerki welcomed this situation. And also at the same time, Abiy regime um, invited the Oromo Liberation Front to join, promising them a democratic reform and peaceful political environment. So Abiy did not want to continue with ODP, the one that was created by Lama Magarsa, and he created his own party called Prosperity Party, which is an oxymoron under the current Ethiopian situation. The empire has been gripped with war in Oromia. War has never stopped in Oromia, and now since November 2020, we have an outright war that's waged between the Ethiopian federal government and the Tigray government. And on top of that, there is a drought that's threatening the life of nearly 20 million population in Oromia, in Somalia, in Tigray, and elsewhere in the country. So Prosperity Party that was established in 2019 is a party with and that doesn't go with the situation, and it's an oxymoron. So so the war in the north of the country between TDF and the Prosperity Party is, in fact, a war between a previous master and its servant, and who became all of a sudden independent and is currently kind of retaliating about the treatment probably that has happened to them over the 27 years until the Oromo youth kind of freed the OPDO. So this is how it's been going so far, and we'll continue to monitor what is going on in the north of the country and in Oromia. In the last 1 week, the Tigray People Liberation Front, the TPLF, has said they are ready to negotiate under the leadership of the African Union with the observation from US and other European countries and other stakeholders, and that has been also calling for an all-inclusive national dialogue and a peace process. According to the statement, the military statement that was released today from the Tigray Military Command, the seal of the statement, the header of the statement says the government of Tigray. In fact, what it indicates is the Tigray government at this moment, the Tigray People Liberation Front and the Tigray Defense Force won independence. And in fact, they are acting as a de facto independent state. Despite they are denied any access to the global community, and they are being limited and within the confines of the Tigray region, they have chosen to use the government of Tigray. So they are de facto independent state at this moment. And there has been news in the peace deal, they might bring about the idea of conducting a referendum and becoming independent. Of course, that would be a good move. If they become independent, they would have the same seat at the UN if they are accepted to join the UN, and they could have a lot of friends among the global communities, and they can have direct support. They can have direct communication. They can have direct flight between Mekelle and other the capitals of other African nations as well as Western countries and Asian countries. So it would be a good move for them if they go for independence from Ethiopia. And that would also, of course, create a door for other nations that have been struggling for independence from Ethiopia for generations. Among those, the number one is the Oromo Liberation Army, Oromo Liberation Front, have been fighting for independence for the last 50 years, and has never reached the same level as right now. The Oromo Liberation Army that has been in Walaga in several locations. Zones in Walaga have had an upper hand over the Ethiopian government forces, and recently, in the recent past, the OLA has entered Gimbi and released several political prisoners, has entered Namdolo, the capital of Kalem Walaga, has entered Gambela, a neighboring state, has entered Bedele and released several political prisoners very close to Nakamt, which is the capital of Eastern Walaga. Gimbi is the capital of West Walaga zone. The OLA that is also operating in the central Oromia area in Area Berga, in Gindabarat, Abuna Gindabarat, and Sulufta has been very, very strong and getting every time closer and closer to the capital. The capital actually is within reach, within 50 kilometers or 30 miles from the capital. So the OLA is actually poses more threat to the Ethiopian federal government than the TDF. Moreover, the OLA that's situated in Guji zone and Borana zone, as well as other regions, have been very strong and have been conducting strong operations against the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. The Oromo Liberation Army that is stationed in East Guji zone, the Sodom Boro Brigade, has been conducting heavy operations against Ethiopian military and has inflicted heavy casualty over the Ethiopian defense forces. The OLA has also expanded its control to RC, Bale, and Hararge zones and Wallo region, and that's been has strong movement in those areas as well. This has been FNN News Network. In our today's news, we reported on the Orthodox Christian church that has been harboring and training Fano terrorists, and the fact that the Ethiopian government has captured 31 of those in the last 1 week on September 10th. And we have also brought to you about the Tigray Defense Forces military command statement on victories over the Ethiopian Defense Forces and Eritrean Defense Forces, and the movement of the Oromo Liberation Army in Oromia, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Amhara Orthodox Church, role in arming and deploying Fanos to commit genocide in Oromia and elsewhere in the country. Has been FNN News Network. I'm host Daniel Baba. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact us on our social media account, on our website, fnnmedia.org or fnnmedia.net or .info. Please share this content and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.